What's up, guys? I wanted to talk to you today about the liberal versus the conservative approaches to jiu-jitsu training, or just, sports training in general. But specifically, I'm going to talk about jiu-jitsu. So the first thing I'll say is that, jiu-jitsu has gone through a lot of transitions. Back in the 90s, seeing like a purple belt in the United States was like a really rare thing. Like it was not only not popularized, it was extremely rare to be found in that time in the United States. And in the last 30 years, we've had tremendous growth in how prevalent jiu-jitsu really is in the United States, and the cultural changes that have happened within jiu-jitsu, as well as the changes in training strategy and the techniques that are done and the strategies that are employed have been substantial. That being said, certain traditional and conservative approaches to jiu-jitsu are very valuable, okay? Having a curriculum is very valuable. Having structure in your training strategy is very valuable, because those things will make it easier for you to improve. If you just come into a class with no structure and just, randomly roll, and you're not specifically working on tackling certain skills, and when you learn the lesson, it jumps around entirely. There's no consistency in what positions you're doing or what techniques are being shown. There's no means of trying to tie them together. It's very unstructured. That's not very beneficial to your training. There needs to be some kind of structure. There needs to be some kind of structure to your training in order for you to, consistently tackle certain skill sets and tackle certain positions. That being said, you don't want to exclusively rely on structures and traditions of the past. They need to be susceptible to change. They need to intake new information as the jiu-jitsu world, gets bigger, and as certain techniques and strategies become more prominent, and we learn more so what is effective over what's less effective. You need to have a system that's, able to change. So what I do is, for my beginners, for instance, I have a curriculum which is about 7 months long, but every iteration, I reevaluate it. I go through the entire thing, and I'm like, okay, is there anything that should be added to this? Is there anything that should be taken away? Is there any technique I have in here that could be taught in a better way, or can be replaced by something that's a little bit easier to learn and maybe more effective? So you need to have that reevaluation process, and that's ultimately the balance between the liberal and the conservative approaches, right? If you go too far in the conservative direction, you have very rigid structures and traditions that are not able to intake any sort of change, no matter how positive that change may be, and they can become hierarchical and authoritarian structures in many cases. On the other end, right, if you go too liberal and you have no structure, and it's just a chaotic training environment where there's absolutely no structure to it, well, then basically the only people that get good are the people that can provide structure to their training outside of the school environment, and that's not going to be everybody, So you want to make sure you have a balance. I know this is like the enlightened centrism take, but bear with my fence sitting. You do need a balance of both the liberal and the conservative approach. You need to have important structures. You need to maintain important structures and traditions. At the same time, as times change, as things get different, as the factors surrounding the existence of those structures change, you need to have flexibility, and you need to be able to change things in a more positive direction. So this dichotomy applies not only in jiu-jitsu, but also in all other facets of life, right? And in our culture and in our politics. We need to maintain the structures and traditions that are important and that are there for a reason, but we need to also change things that no longer make sense, okay? So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like the content that I produce on the channel, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you hit the notification bell. I have to say, guys, it's YouTube law, but it really does help us when you do these things. Like the video if you enjoyed the content. If you want to leave a comment because you disagreed with something that I said, or you want to expand upon something, please go ahead. I'd love to have a dialogue. So I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys next video.